NC State basketball will be carrying their big win over UNC into their next matchup on Tuesday. But until then, we have a whole weekend to sit back and watch some ACC chaos.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our Friday show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back with no fork needed. Vanilla cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and 0 sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Well, I'd be lying to you if I said we still aren't feeling great after beating the DFC on Tuesday night, but we got a little help from someone else inside the state of North Carolina on Wednesday night. Steve Forbes and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons were able to knock off Clemson, which has moved the NC State Wolfpack back into 4th place in the ACC standings by way of tiebreaker. We have the same ACC record as Clemson, but since we only play them once and we beat them, NC State is 4th and Clemson is 5th. Now, the reason I bring that up is because NC State does not play this weekend. They have an unofficial bye week. Don't have a game on Saturday. We don't play again until this coming Tuesday. That will be on the road against the UVA Cavaliers. So we're watching the end of that Wake Forest game. They knock off Clemson. NC State moves back up. And then you start to wonder, how much more help could we potentially be getting down the road? So in just a second here, I'm going to take a look at the other teams inside the top 4 to 6 and look at who they have to play and maybe how great of a chance NC State does have to stick inside of that top 4. But Kenton, before we get really into this, just a gut feeling now that NC State is back up in the top 4, still got to play Virginia, still got to play Duke, but obviously you have Notre Dame and Stanford, which feel like games that you can't lose. Do you have any more or less confidence that NC State will finish in that top 4?
Grayson, I have a ton of confidence that we do. And here's why I say that.
Looking that way.
A lot of people are going to hate me for that. A lot of people are going to say, Ken, you know the law of the wolf and you're not supposed to expect anything. I don't believe in that anymore. Don't care. Do not care. Don't believe in it. Not rolling with it. Let me tell you why, Grayson. Coming down the stretch, shut up. First of all, I don't say this often, but I will say it today. Jim Phillips, ACC, I got to give him a hand. You know why I'm giving him a hand, Grayson?
Why's that?
All of these teams coming down the stretch play each other. All of the teams in the top 5, 6 right now, they're all playing each other. For example, UVA and Miami play this weekend.
Yep.
So guess what? One of 2 things is going to happen. We are either going to be moved dead even with Miami, even though Miami has the tiebreak at number 3, or we will be moved half a game back from Virginia, which means if we beat Virginia and they lose to Miami, boom, we're up again. And guess who else we play coming down the stretch? Duke. So, it's a great time if you are the Wolfpack and if you're saying, well, do we need help? Do we not need help? You got the help. The Wolfpack got all the help we need. I'm arguing that they will do enough to remain in the top 4. That's what I'm arguing. Okay? With all due respect to Brownell, that team's wetting the bed right now. That we got to break out the rubber sheets for Clemson. They're wetting the bed a little bit right now. With all due respect to Jay Lucas, before they played NC State and the Dirty Foot Club, they were on their way to wetting the bed as well. This is not about anybody else. This ain't about what help you need from anybody else. This is about NC State playing the best NC State basketball you possibly can. And if you find a way to get a win against UVA, and this is just an actual factual statement, at that point in time, you either move into tied for 3rd with Miami, or if UVA loses to Miami, you then jump over UVA. That's just what is going to happen. Am I banking on us winning that game? Am I saying I know for a fact we're going to win that game? No. But at the end of the day, even beyond that UVA game, you have an opportunity against almost all the teams that are ahead of you still. You have the opportunity to lock in what you need, even if we count, Stanford and Notre Dame as quote unquote free spaces. If this team shows up and does what they're supposed to do, you're good to go. And you've got the other three to truly show out and get yourself a special one in there. I think this team, again, you're looking at Notre Dame and Stanford as the only two where you would say that shouldn't kill you. That shouldn't be a game where it's like do or die. It's over if you can't get those, obviously. But even if all of the rest of the games go against you, and with our final 4 games, you got Stanford, Notre Dame, Duke. Even if you go 2-2 down the stretch, you've got a good shot. If you go 3-1, even better of a shot. So realistically, I'm excited to see how this thing goes down the stretch. I'm excited to see where we can end this thing off and finish up. There's a chance. There's a chance, and we're in position right now. All you got to do is not cede any more ground, which it ain't exactly easy. But like Grayson said, we have the tie break over the team that's currently tied with us at 4th. There's a way. There's a way. And again, even if you look at Clemson's schedule, they got Louisville and the Dirty Foot Club and Florida State and Georgia Tech, 2 teams that have pulled off massive upsets this year. Florida State's already upset Miami once. Georgia Tech, I don't have to tell you who they upset this year.
So as you see here on the screen, I have a screenshot of the top 8 spots in the ACC standings. Now, I only used 8 because I see that as really that's the only 8 that can potentially finish in that top 4. So you see Duke on top, UVA 2, Miami 3, NC State at 4, although technically tied with Clemson, but Clemson is underneath of us, so they are 5. Now, like I said, moving through the remaining schedules of these teams here, you have Duke, who plays, for some reason, Michigan this weekend. I don't know how in the world you schedule a non-conference matchup this deep into February, but they play Michigan this weekend. The ACC games they have remaining are Notre Dame, Virginia, us, and then the Dirty Foot Club. Now, Duke, I'm expecting they'll probably go 3-1, if not 4-0 in their last ACC games. Now, I think NC State can beat Duke. I want to be very clear about that. That game will be inside the Lenovo Center. If you craft up a good enough game plan, like if you can find a way to neutralize Boozer on some level, and that's a very tall task because really nobody's done it a whole lot this year, I think Duke is beatable. But until it is done, that remains to be seen. So I think Duke at this point, I would consider them a lock for the top 4 in the ACC. Then you look at Virginia. They play Miami this weekend, like Kenton told you. That's a really tough game. That's a toss-up type game. And I think maybe in a small sense that might benefit us because we got to come in and play them immediately after a very physical game. So we'll see how the result of that one shakes out, but that will most definitely be something to keep your eye on Saturday. Then, of course, Virginia, like I said, they play us, and then they play Duke. So you have a 3-game gauntlet coming up from UVA where they're really going to find out what they might be made of, and potentially they'll sit right there at 2, or potentially maybe they even drop all the way down to like 5. Who knows? If they drop, like let's say Virginia drops all 3 of those games, they might fall out entirely, and NC State could shoot up to like 2 or 3. This is all on the table. If NC State can just hold serve and beat who you are supposed to beat, maybe even knock off UVA while you're at it. The next team I want to look at is Miami. Like I said, they play Virginia this weekend. Then they go on the road and play Florida State, who they've already lost to once this year. They play Boston College, and then they have 2 really tough games to close the year. At SMU, SMU just beat Louisville, and then Miami has to play Louisville. So I'm looking at Miami, and I see, wow, they might have 3 more games that they could potentially lose. So even they might not be able to hold on to that tiebreaker that they do have over us when it's all said and done. Then you look at Clemson. Clemson has now lost 3 games in a row, Virginia Tech, Duke, and now Wake. Now they got to play Florida State. Florida State's been a somewhat tough team of late. They got to play Louisville. That's a very tough game. They got to go into the Dean Dome and play the Dirty Feet. Who knows if they'll have Vasar and or Wilson back by then, but I'd anticipate that'll be a tough matchup. Then they close with Georgia Tech. Clemson could lose 2 to 3 more games here before it's all said and done. Now for the Dirty Foot Club. They go on the road at Syracuse. They play Louisville. That's a tough game. Virginia Tech, that might be a tough game. Clemson and Duke. The Dirty Foot Club might lose like 4 to 5 more times. All of that could be on the table. Syracuse could even get them this weekend, again, depending on what kind of availability they got. And then last but certainly not least, I'll look at Louisville here. They play Georgia Tech, the Dirty Foot Club, Clemson, Syracuse, and Miami. That's another 3 tough games that if the Cardinals are going to make a run, they have a little bit of a gauntlet in order to do so. So again, we say all of this to say you might be able to go 2-2 and still finish in the top 4. So NC State, after beating the Dirty Foot Club, they're finding themselves in an excellent spot here. Oh, I should also say, after Wake Forest also beat Clemson. Shout out to Steve Forbes. Shout out to Steve Forbes. That's a massive development. Again, all this talk about the ACC being back, and it looks like, this might be your dad's type of ACC. The ACC conference in the last 3 weeks of this regular season, it is going to be absolute pandemonium. It's going to be a war zone. You're going to have teams moving up and down, left and right, trying to scramble for positioning here to be a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament. And guess what? In year 1 of the Will Wade era, NC State is directly in the middle of that mix, right where we want to be.
As that old musical used to say, we're in the thick of it. Okay, we're in the thick of it, ladies and gentlemen. We are
the
right there. Never mind. Backyardigans. There we go. Either way, we're in the thick of it. We're right there. We're where we want to be. Will Wade said, what were the 2 goals, Grayson?
Top 4 at ACC and make the NCAA tournament.
Will Wade may have his faults. This team may have their faults. This team may have their deficiencies. But I've got to love a man that's a man of his word. I got to love a man that's a man of his word, okay? And here's the thing. We'll come back to this idea later.
Yeah.
But for the people who are complaining about this season and saying Will Wade's a snake oil salesman and all that, if I could completely strip away all postseason results, because we don't know what's going to happen with anybody's postseason, but if we were to strip away the results of every postseason, like we could pretend nothing, we know nothing beyond the final regular season game of the year. If we were to give everybody this season, if we were to say you could take this season from Will Wade and you could either keep all of the seasons leading up to this one, or you could drop a duplicate of this season. Again, you don't know which season it's replacing. Just drop a duplicate of this season onto any of the Gottfried years, the Sidney Lowe years, the Keats years. Would you do it? Would you take that deal? I want you to think about that before the next time you say, he's a snake oil salesman. We've done nothing. Everything's terrible. Just think, would you or would you not, in all honesty, take this regular season and copy and paste it over another random one? You can't pick which one. It'll just go over one randomly. Would you take that deal? If you look at the history of the Wolfpack over those 3 coaches, if you look at, let's include Herb Sendek in there. If you look at the history of it and say, would you drop it over any one of those? The answers are obvious. Yes. The answers are obvious. The chances of us getting a season that's worse than this being replaced exponentially higher than the chances of us getting a season that's definitively better than this dropped off.
Yeah, because think about that. Like Kenton said, you can't pick. So obviously the first thought is, well, we won an ACC title with Keats and went to the Final Four. Yeah, but you can't pick that. You're picking random seasons basically out of a hat. So if you're going to trade this year for, let's say like 2009 NC State season, you taking that? Absolutely not. We were nowhere close to the position that we are currently standing in right now. So keep that in mind on the whole. Will Wade is on the brink of doing exactly what he wanted to do in just year 1. Coming up next, we're getting into Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of this draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which might just be the sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, so there is truly something for everyone. These are shots that give you a boost throughout the entire day with 0 sugar. They also have a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. Maybe you can mention a flavor that you'd love to see get made, and who knows, down the road, it just might be. Me personally, I'm a watermelon type guy. I will go for nearly anything watermelon flavored, and 5 Hour Energy's flavor, it is off the chain. If you're looking for maybe an underrated flavor with 5 Hour Energy, look no further than cotton candy. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win a trip to the NBA Finals for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. And you'll love looking at futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or maybe just grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game coming down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick potentially cash, but it could end up sending you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com in order to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future to get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Middle portion of our Friday show. Now time for Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Here we go. First one comes from D. Senis. It says, this may be a stretch, but I'm viewing the Virginia game somewhat like the Georgia Tech game in football from this year. UVA has been playing with fire lately, winning close games against lower competition in the ACC. They're finally going to get burnt next week. Now, look, I don't want to call our shot and say definitively NC State is going to go on the road and beat UVA, but I'm starting to get a little bit of a feeling here. I'm starting to see the vision from D. Senis. Again, I'm not officially confirming that. I'm going to watch basketball all this weekend, and maybe I'll tell you a little something on Monday or Tuesday, but I'm getting a little feeling here that Will Wade wants revenge on UVA, that he was embarrassed the way that we played the first time around, especially being the fact that it was a home game for us. The whole point of this post is they're kind of due for a loss. Haven't lost in a very long time. They've been playing around with lower level competition, like escaping the likes of like a Boston College. It's feasible that NC State can go on the road, get hot from downtown. They might walk away with a W here.
I got a feeling the Pack are going to win in Charlottesville. Grayson may be afraid to call this shot. A lot like how Grayson keeps saying D. Senis, as I see that as DC Ennis. But you know what I do know here? You know what I really feel more than anything else here? This is absolutely a UVA team that's been playing down to their competition, but I don't think that's the greatest thing the NC State has going for them. This is a classic trap game. It has every element of a trap game except they're at home. That's the only element of it that's not trap game-ish. But everything else, you're sandwiched between two big games. Oh, yeah. And not only are you sandwiched between two big games, the bigger game is on the back end of it. And y'all talk about playing down against lower competition. You're on one of I believe, the longest winning streak in the conference. I got a strange feeling that something odd is going to happen in Charlottesville. And I'd love to see our boys come out with a win because of it. But I'm going to call the shot right now. Grace is not going to do it. I'm going to call the shot. I think NC State wins that game. And I think that this one, I think it's close, but I think we come out on top.
I'm in a holding pattern. We'll see how this weekend goes, but I think Kenton makes a great point. They got to play Miami this weekend, and that will be a very physical game for them. We found out the hard way, unfortunately. It's going to burn us up if we don't find a way to stick in the top four, because that's a game that we should have won already. But that's going to be a tough game. Then they got to play us, and then they got to play Duke, who is the team that they're probably looking ahead towards. So NC State may just find themselves in a great spot to pick them off on the road. Second one here comes from the Stone Wolf. They say, I like how you touched a little on the fact that people have gotten upset at Wade at some of his post-game conferences, saying he harps on his players too much and he needs to support them more in the media. I love that Wade does that. He wants his players to prove him wrong. Look at Copeland, for example. He is undeniably the best player on this team, and Wade yells at him the most. Having a coach like that is special. He wants them to elevate. These guys not be buddy-buddy with them. Every time that Will Wade has called his team soft this year, or they got a bunch of nice guys, and he can't seem to get through to them, and he was staging a hostile takeover of the program, all of that was like mental warfare toward his team. He was basically challenging them, saying, you guys are telling me you're tough, but I'm not seeing toughness on the court. So this is me challenging you. Show me or shut up. Move it or lose it. Nut up or shut up. I want to see what y'all are actually talking about here. Show me the type of team you want to be. And, you know, coming off the back of that extremely painful Miami loss, I think they responded extremely well to that, because you saw their energy level on Tuesday night. And I know it's UNC, it's a rivalry game. You hope they'd get up for that regardless, but I think it was essentially like double whammy. You had a tough loss you had to bounce back from, and you were already getting up to play the DFC. So I think every time that Wade has done this over the course of this season, the team generally has responded very well the next couple games.
I'm going to tell you this, Grayson. My old defensive coordinator, Coach Crowell, Jermaine Crowell, I love him to death. He told me something that I'll never forget because I asked him one day. I remember it was after a game that I thought that I went crazy. I had like 2 or 3 tackles for loss, a couple sacks on there, 1 strip fumble. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling great about myself. We played a team, a PSL team that was they were terrible. They were awful. And I'm sitting here like, oh, we're not even going to talk about this film all that much. And we watched a play where I got double teamed, I slipped, I end up on my back. Okay. And Coach Crowell said, this is what my big fella is doing. We're getting ready to go into the state playoffs, and this is what my big fella is doing. I'm sitting here pissed. I'm like, dog, what more do you want from me? You want me to be a perfect player? And so I'm upset about it. And the coaches were giving me a ride home at that point in time because I went to school for the gifted, didn't live in the gifted part of town. So I had to catch 2 buses across town to get there. And on the ride home, Coach Crowell, I'm sitting here and I'm like, Coach, why, man? Why? What do I got to do for you to give me some credit? He said, Big Hoss, I can be your friend or I can coach you to greatness, but I can't do both. And I want y'all to sit with that for a second. Will Wade can be these guys' friends or he can coach them to greatness. You can't do both. You can't do both. And if I'm these players, I know as a member of Wolfpack Nation, I definitely want to see you coaching to greatness. But if you're a player, if you're cut from a championship cloth, even at that time, as a 16-year-old or 17-year-old, I knew if this is what it takes to win a championship, yes, coach, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. If this is what it takes, holding me accountable when we're up 30 against a team that they ain't none of them boys going on to play no big-time football. But holding me accountable in that moment in front of the team was to say, this is one of our captains, this is one of our best players. I'm going to tell him he's not doing enough because Will Wade, in the same way, I want to be your push to greatness. I don't want to be your friend. Right now, we have a common mission. Right now, we have a common goal that we are chasing. And we have to chase it with a pursuit and a relentlessness that nobody else knows. Because it's only 2 to 3 ways, really 2 ways to get there. One way, you got talent that overwhelms everybody at a level that, it's just unheard of, which we see a lot out of Duke. The second way is you just try every detail, everything that you can control, you do it at an elite level. That's what I think this team's path is. And I guess there is a third path. You just catch lightning in a bottle for a few games. We saw that 5 games or 5 days a couple of years ago. We saw the run after that. But the reality is there's only a few ways to get this thing done. And all of those ways require an intensity that is insane. It takes what it takes. And Will Wade is a guy that knows what it takes.
I think another mainstream example of this might be like Kirby Smart. 2022 Georgia Bulldog football team. They were 15-0, undefeated national champion. They had like 15 draft picks. They had one of the best defenses in college, maybe of all time. Kirby Smart had this team believing that nobody believed in them. They won the national championship undefeated. These boys were getting on the microphone. They were like in tears. Nobody believed in us. We believed in each other. This is a team of destiny. And everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? You're the best team we've ever seen. But it's that mindset inside the locker room that you will not bite what they call the rat poison. You will not read the tabloids. You will not get too high on yourself or too low on yourself. There's like a level of psychosis, essentially, it takes to be great. And I can't believe I'm going to do this. But somebody like Michael Jordan, again, I feel disgusting giving him any type of credit. But like it takes that level of delusion to become such a psychotic winner, essentially. Will Wade, believe it or not, he's cut from that cloth. He is. And if you listen to the Will Wade radio show on Thursday night, Ironically, Wade was not even there because he's traveling, but the assistant coaches took over, and they all kind of hinted at that. He's a relentless worker. He's very attentive to detail. Nothing is really ever good enough for him. He celebrates the good things, but he's always hungry for more. It's that type of mindset. You will never settle. You will never get complacent. You're always seeking the next route to get better every day. And again, we've talked about that bits and pieces the entirety of this season. He is the right guy for this job, and that mindset is so invaluable. Some of the reason why he is seemingly harsh, if you want to call it that, in the media is because he is testing his team. He's trying to build their mental fortitude moving forward, and it's working. Like I said, every time he's really done it this year, they've seemed to respond pretty well to it. So Kent and I are looking at that, and we know what he's doing in the media when he's doing it. We can appreciate that. We are picking up what he's putting down, and it's genius. It truly is, because in the long run, in the long term, that's what you want this program to be built on. Last one here comes from Robert Bacall. He says, hey, guys, what's with the Will Wade rumors? So, all right, I'm just going to address this one time. I've seen it floating around the internet. I saw Ovius and Giglio did some of their podcasts on it on Thursday. Here's the deal. A bunch of burner accounts that are LSU fans essentially got the pot stirred up because LSU fans, they still love Will Wade down there in the Bayou, especially because he was at McNeese State, which is not too far away, and they got to watch him have even more success, even despite he was fired. So LSU, at least their fan base, they would love to have him back. But there's fantasy and then there's reality. The reality is Will Wade is in a better coaching position right now at NC State than he ever was at LSU. I would encourage everyone to not let LSU burner accounts get you all riled up and worried about Will Wade this offseason. I have no doubt that Will Wade's not just going to up and leave after just 1 year. He's building a platform here in Raleigh. He's not going to uproot that and go somewhere else. So in a very small sense, I understand like the PTSD for NC State fans, because as unfortunate as it is, a lot of us are like programmed to expect the worst. This is not going to be that. It's a bunch of LSU fans stirring up rumors. They want to get excited and try and get Will Wade to look at the program again. It's not going to happen. As of now, I can definitively say this is not something we need to be worried about.
How has Will Wade become Schrodinger's coach all of a sudden? One day he's a snake oil salesman. There's nothing good. He just talks. He's just a talker. He ain't doing nothing good for the program. And then the next day, everybody's coming for him. Will Wade ain't going to be here long. I'm sick and tired of it. Here's the deal. Will Wade is NC State's guy, and NC State is Will Wade's place. When Will Wade was in talks to come to NC State, I want y'all to know, and this is factual stuff that Grayson and I are not fabricating any of this. You can go back and we can bring up the receipts if you would like. National guys were saying NC State is out of the Will Wade sweepstakes. There's no chance they get Will Wade. That's just facts. National guys that get paid in the six figures to do this, we're saying, Will Wade is out. Were they right or were they wrong, Grayson?
They were wrong.
Both the national guys and the burners, when Texas fired their coach. Buckle up. Texas money's coming now. You've got no shot at landing Will Wade now. The Texas money is coming down the pipeline. And again, Grayson and I can produce receipts if you like. This wasn't just people talking on the Longhorn Leaf or whatever. This was everywhere. This was, Texas is all in on Will Wade. Is Will Wade wearing burnt orange and white?
He is not.
Has Will Wade taken any trips to Austin that we don't know of recently?
He has not.
Okay. Well, it seems to me, methinks that every time we look up, somebody's saying, Will Wade and NC State, it ain't going to work out. I don't give a damn. When I hear something that is substantial, the same way that we told y'all when we knew this deal was done, there is no reliable information that has told me anything about a potential reunion down there in the Bayou. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Will Wade is our guy. He's where he wants to be. and he's where we want him to be. So that's that on that.
It just doesn't make sense at this point in time. You think he's going to go back to LSU where he was fired from just to play second fiddle to Lane Kiffin? Why would he do that? He is currently at a basketball school, which is NC State. He's receiving the best resources he's ever had as a head coach, and I would expect those to be even increased higher this coming offseason based on maybe some postseason success. He has everything he wants, and he said as such. Will Wade has said publicly that he has everything he needs right here in Raleigh, North Carolina to be conducive to championships. It does not make sense for him to backtrack and try and rehash and relive old memories. So drop that for what it is. It's a bunch of burners having fun on the internet, as they like to do from time to time. Nothing more than that right now. Coming up next to round out our Friday show, NC State women's basketball has played 2 consecutive road games, and they both went poorly. More on this after a quick word from our sponsor.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Last couple minutes of our Friday show, switching over to NC State women's basketball. Well, they played 2 consecutive road games this week, and they got boat raced, unfortunately, in both of them. Road losses to Notre Dame and now Duke on Thursday night. The sad and unfortunate part is neither one of these games was relatively competitive at all. 18-point loss over in Durham at the hands of the 9th-ranked Blue Devils. NC State was 0 of 6 from downtown, was not able to hit one single three. They got absolutely bodied in rebounding. They lost that by 16 rebounds. They made 13 turnovers, just an ugly night. The offense has really been sputtering of late. The rebounding has been very suspect. Some of the defense, some of the shot selection. It's just been kind of all over the place, Ken. As weird as it is, it almost feels like men and women's basketball is like 2 ships passing in the night, because it was the complete opposite if you rewind like 2 months ago. But what is going on with Westmore's bunch right now?
You know, I'm going to give Westmore a mulligan. I'm going to give him a down year.
He's earned it.
With more parity happening in college sports than ever, you'll see years like this from really good teams. And here's the other thing. Remember when I told you we were going to come back to this premise later? We'll do it again right now. Westmore and the women's basketball team is finishing this season out with Syracuse, Wake Forest, and Pittsburgh. Quick question. How many of these teams do you think are in front of NC State in the standings right now in terms of ACC standings?
I believe only Syracuse is after Thursday.
Correct. Syracuse is ahead, and they're only 1 game ahead. So if NC State wins that game, NC State then gets in the double bye. And for reference, before these last 2 losses to Notre Dame and Duke, NC State was ahead of Syracuse, as Syracuse is on a 2-game winning streak. NC State's on a 2-game losing streak. So a win against Syracuse puts NC State back on the line for the double bye. So that's just a fact there. And then when you move beyond that, Pitt is at second to last. Wake Forest is 4 from last. So realistically, this team still has an opportunity to get on the double bye line. This is truly a testament to how good of a coach Westmore is. That we're talking about this as if this is like a DEFCON 1 situation. Like we're like, oh my God, what is Westmore and the team doing? And yet, if everything holds, right, even if they lose to Syracuse and finish these last 2, they'd end up 12-6 in conference. They'd end up 19-10 overall, and they're a lock for the tournament. So the same question I posed for Will Wade's season. If you were to have that same deal offered, but for this women's season, would you take it, Grace? Would
Absolutely.
you take it? This team has disappointed in big games. They have no-showed in big games. That is just an objective fact. Down the stretch, big games early in the season, they were a little bit better. Down the stretch, we've kind of withered whenever we have a team of substance come our way. Unfortunately, it's the way of college basketball and college sports now. Teams are going to have years like this. Get up off the horse, lick your wounds, learn what's wrong, finish out this season the right way. And I'll add, some of Westmore's deepest tournament runs have been with teams where we're like, is this team actually good? What's happening here? And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we're in the Sweet 16 again. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're fine.
Just a head scratcher every year, really. I mean, they seem to have a lot of talent, but they cannot seem to put it together on a consistent basis. They win 2 and they look great, and then they'll follow that up with a 2-game losing streak in which they look like a high school team. And so it's just kind of all over the map. And I kind of wonder, maybe the mental side is just not quite there to this team. And with a dismissal of a player earlier in the year, there might be some truth to that, but not to speculate too much. It's just a very confusing team to try and figure out right now. But to Kenton's point, the craziest part about all of this, they could be in for a double bye. It just goes to show how great Westmore has been here, that we're looking this to be a down year, and they could easily finish in the top 4 of the conference, earn a double bye in the tournament. So who really knows how these last couple games are going to shape out, but they got to figure out answers and quick, because what I'm seeing right now is a very disconjointed basketball team. They don't seem to be communicating very well. The effort level is kind of here and there. We will see if Westmore can pull a rabbit out of a hat, but very confusing stretch for this women's basketball team.
Grayson, this team is very confusing and perplexing in a lot of ways, except for one. This team cannot shoot the ball. That is the problem. Therein lies the problem. And people are going to look at me and say, well, the shooting can't be that bad. I mean, we've got some pretty good young guards. The shooting can't be that bad. NC State, and this is nothing short of a miracle, by the way, when you really dig into this. Here's some advanced stats for you, okay? NC State is the 3rd leading scoring offense in the conference. Now, with us being the 3rd leading scoring offense in the conference, you would assume that we'd be somewhere near decent in terms of shooting. I want to give you a guess, Grayson, in terms of the top 10 offenses in the conference, or actually, let's just go with teams averaging above 70 points. Miami, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, us, Notre Dame, and Louisville. Where do you think we rank in terms of three-point shooting amongst those teams?
I'm going to say we're at the bottom of all of them.
We are second to last.
Makes sense.
The only team that is worse than us is the team that averages the least points in that group, which is Miami. They're shooting 29.8% from deep. We're shooting 31.4. Nobody is lower. The next lowest in front of us is Virginia Tech at 31.5. That's it. That's all. So I am not joking when I say, like, yeah, this team has had its problem. Yeah, Westmore hasn't, necessarily had that touch this year. I am baffled that you can win games when teams can look at your perimeter players and say, oh, they self-check. We're going to sag way off. Oh, we're going to focus on Camille. Oh, we just don't need to let Caden Samuels drive. Oh, we just don't need to let Zoe Brooks drive, and we'll be okay. Somehow, this team has still managed to be right there on the line for a double bye, despite the fact that they couldn't hit a super Walmart from the parking lot.
Situation will certainly be something to monitor down the stretch in the last 3 games of the regular season, and then, of course, into that ACC tournament. But if Westmore can find a way to build another postseason run out of this group, it might just be his best coaching job yet. That will do it for us here on Friday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you back here. Obviously, no game this weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.